President and Vice President speaking last night, the final evening of the Democratic National Convention, and joining us now with some insight is Michael Yaki, who joins us when we talk about political issues. Thanks for being here, Michael.
Absolutely.
All right, so what did you think of the speech? Because you really had high marks for President Obama's wife and for former President Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I think Michelle Obama was an A, President Clinton was an A+, and the president was a solid B.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he could have really gone for an A, because an A would have meant, I think, a different economy, a different climate. This was a tough job for the president. It was a tough sell. This was about basically trying to tell the American people, and actually the voters who voted with him in 2008, have a little patience with me, but just remember who the other guy is, because if you want to dance down that road, that's not the road that you went on in 2008 with me. Just be patient, and that's hard. But I think he did a good job in terms of stressing humility, admitting his own failings without appearing to be weak, trying to make that, and again, drawing the sharp comparison between the Democrat message in Charlotte and the Republican message in Tampa.
But the Republicans were trying to frame this as, if he can't say you're better off now,
right,
then he can't win. And it looks like he didn't want to come out and say, oh, we're all roses now.
Well, I think
especially with that jobs report.
I think that was the job, quite frankly, of President Clinton on Thursday night. I mean, that's where he gave the master class on answering the question of not are you better off, but are we better off. That's why they kept on hitting on the auto bailout. That's why they kept on. That's why basically the second most mentioned name last night was Osama bin Laden, when they asked the question, ask Osama bin Laden if he's better off than he was 4 years ago.
How important, we know how important Florida is, and that may be the key state here in this election. And last night we had a Republican former governor, Charlie Crist,
yeah.
And he brought up the line that Reagan used about the Democratic Party, saying, I didn't abandon my party,
yes,
my party abandoned me. How important was Crist's speech in this process last night?
Well, I think it was important. It wasn't in prime time, but certainly for Floridians and for the Florida vote, that's going to be important. I think that they were obviously lining up a lot of speakers aimed at the swing states. A lot of Latino speakers were very prominent, aimed at Colorado, Nevada, and Florida. Charlie Crist is there to try and get independent Floridians to go with him. I think that the little debacle on the platform with Jerusalem didn't really help him with Florida, but maybe I think that Clinton certainly helped erase a lot of that the other night.
And how about the glitz and flash factor, you know, with the young stars coming out last night?
Well, at least, you know, Scarlett and Carrie didn't bring any chairs with them on the stage. I was kind of disappointed that sort of the two big stars, George Clooney and Tom Hanks, were basically voiceovers.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, you know, come on, give a little eye candy, you know, put a little George out there, but
right,
no. So they just did ScarJo instead.
So now that we're done with both conventions, do things in your mind quiet down now up until the debate on October 3rd, or are we just going to see the rhetoric keep flying back and forth?
This is when we won't see this much in California, but if you're living in the East Coast, if you're living in the swing states, you are going to be inundated 24/7 with ad buys. I mean, I think Romney just did a huge ad release today. The super PACs are going out strong. It's the volume of noise. It's going to be like in the movie Spinal Tap. It's going from 10 to 11.
And we're just kind of left alone here in California because it's pretty much guaranteed that the vote will go for President Obama.
Right. I think I think the most exciting part for Californians is going to be the debates.
Okay. So at least we'll have decent commercials here in California in the meantime.
Yeah. So
coverage. This is a live picture from the Convention Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, the site of this year's DNC. The governor of Montana at the podium. Of course, everyone awaiting the speech tonight by President Obama as he seeks re-election. Joining me now to talk about the convention, political analyst Michael Yaki. You just heard Grant mention that the jobs report comes out tomorrow. Everybody is waiting for those numbers. Certainly the president is. People are saying that he's got to show how he can move the country forward. How does that tie in with this economic situation?
Well, I think that the president has a big lift tonight, and it has to be with the, right now the previews of the speech seem to indicate that he's talking about patience and choice. The choice between what President Clinton laid out yesterday about we're all in this together versus you're on your own, and patience in that it's going to take a little while to get things going. The question is, will the American people trust him, with the next 4 years to get it done, or are they just going to do a knee-jerk reaction and vote the other guy? And that's the issue that he has to face tonight with his speech.
One of the GOP criticisms has been that, okay, the country is kind of tired of great speeches. They really want to hear some specifics. Does he risk giving too many or too few specifics?
Well, I think that in this speech tonight, so far we see that they've outlined a series of goals that he wants the country to rally around. Catherine alluded to them earlier. The question, though, that's on everyone's mind is there a plan for those goals? Is there a way, as President Clinton said yesterday, that the arithmetic adds up? And I think that's going to be what people are going to be looking for. It may not come tonight, though. It all depends on whether they bank that they want to wait until the debates to unveil this, rather than give Mitt Romney and the Republicans a couple weeks to take pot shots at it.
Let's talk a little bit about last night. Bill Clinton's speech, roundly applauded by just about everybody. Did he really do the heavy lifting and save President Obama from having to deal with some of those issues, countering and rebutting some of the comments by the GOP?
I think that President Clinton did a masterclass on how you rebut an entire convention, because he basically dissected the entire 3 days of the Republican convention in his 3,000 written, 5,000 word delivered speech. So I think that for the president, that gives a little bit of it eases a burden for him, but nevertheless, the president needs to connect with the American voters tonight on what he's going to do in the next 4 years that's different and that's going to make a difference in their lives.
Certainly President Clinton connected with the audience in the room as well as many outside the room. Does President Obama risk being overshadowed by him?
I think that President Obama doesn't really risk being overshadowed. He is the president. He has a different perspective on the economy than President Clinton does. I think, and the fact is, they're two very different speakers. President Clinton talks to people as if you're in their living room. President Obama talks, as some of the great orators of the day from the pulpit. So it's a different kind of feeling.
But describe the pressure that the president is under tonight, and how he's got to make this very delicate dance as he talks to the Americans.
Well, one little pressure that's going on right now that everyone's looking at is the fact that he has the jobs report that's going to be released tomorrow. And how does he incorporate that or not incorporate that into his speech? There's a whole pundit parlor game going on right now as to what phraseology he may use in the speech to tip if the job report is good or bad for tomorrow.
All right. Well, of course, Michael Yaki is going to be with us tonight at 6 as well as 8 o'clock to talk about the wrap-up of the convention. If you'd like to connect with Michael Yaki online, you can follow him on Twitter. His handle is @YakiBlog, and you can also read his political website, michaelyaki.com. Also, well, joining me now to talk about the DNC political analyst, Michael Yaki is here. The president is under so much more pressure tonight than he was back in 2008. What has to be his take-home message to those folks who are not in that convention center?
Well, this is the hardest political speech of Barack Obama's career, without a doubt. He's got to be able to make the case to the American people that they need to give him another 4 years to finish a job that, quite frankly, they're not too sure if he's actually been doing for the last 4 years. His favorability rating is low. Some of his numbers have taken a hit after the Republican convention. But the fact of the matter is that the American people like him, but the question is, are they going to give him their vote in November? He's got to straddle a fine line between contrasting the vision of the Democratic Party, his administration, and what Mitt Romney laid out in Tampa. At the same time, give a little meat on the bone. There's kind of a where's the beef type quality to the speech tonight, because I think the American people want to see not just what he wants to do, but how he's going to do it. And I think the big question is going to be, is he going to tip that hand tonight or not, or wait for the debates when they think everyone is finally going to start paying attention?
The GOP got very little bump after they ended in Tampa. It's possible, maybe. What if that happens with the Dems?
I have every expectation that the Democrats are going to get very little bump as well. This is going to be a base election. Everyone has pretty much made up their mind. There's that 5 or 6 undecided, and they're still holding out. They're waiting to see what's going to happen. I think they're going to break late, and that affects the entire strategy right now of these conventions. That's why I really believe they're not tipping their hand too much until the debates, and that's why I think you're going to see grand visions, grand rhetoric, but I'm not too sure if you're going to see a plan from tonight's speech.
Vice President Joe Biden is introducing the president. Some of his critics like to make jokes about his faux pas. He, however, is a very smart man on many issues, particularly foreign policy. What is his value as they go into this campaign? Who is he designed to target?
Well, I mean, Joe Biden has always been sort of the lunch bucket crowd candidate. He's a person who's going to go to every county fair in Ohio and Pennsylvania, identify with that. He's going to go for the Catholic vote, the white middle class vote, the working person vote.
And he's very well liked by those people.
He's very well liked by them, and he also, quite frankly, gives a lot of, part of what he's been doing is he's given the foreign policy gravitas to the administration. He's done a wonderful job in terms of putting that out there. And tonight, if anyone watched the convention so far, they have been hitting Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan hard on national security, which is ironic for the Democrats taking that tack against Republicans. But one of the most telling things that John Kerry did today, he slammed Mitt Romney for not mentioning troops in Afghanistan during his speech in Tampa.
And the Democrats have made a point of pushing the military and certainly the work that Michelle Obama has done with veterans.
I think one of the lines of tonight was John Kerry basically saying in his speech, ask Osama bin Laden if he's better off than he was 4 years ago.
Okay, tonight we're going to come back, talk with Michael at 8 o'clock on our newscast then, talk about the president's speech, talk about the voter suppression issues that are going on around the country, and look ahead to those debates that are coming up. So make sure and tune in with us at 8 o'clock. If you would like to connect with Michael Yaki online, you can follow him on Twitter. His handle is @YakiBlog, and you can also read his political website, michaelyaki.com. Well, we are joined now by Crown 4 political analyst Michael Yaki, who will be with us throughout the election. Michael, we have a lot to cover tonight, so let's start first with Bill Clinton. And of course, he's coming up in a few hours this evening. So much hype in the lead up to his speech. What does he have to do to live up to all of this hype?
Well, I'm a little worried that there's almost too much hype on Bill Clinton. But then again, I was there in '92 in New York City for the Man from Hope speech, and I was blown away. I'd never really heard him in person before, and from that moment on, you saw how great a communicator he really was. He's great at taking very complex ideas and reducing them to very simple English that ordinary people can understand. And the Democrats are hoping he can work his magic again tonight to draw the contrast between Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan and Barack Obama and Joe Biden.
Well, certainly he's well loved in the Democratic Party, but who is he really there to target tonight?
Well, the thing about what Bill Clinton was able to do, Bill Clinton brought back sort of the Reagan Democrats. He brought the middle class, he brought the working class people back into the Democratic Party. They're hoping that he's going to be able to communicate with them again, which has been probably President Obama's hardest issue today.
And is there any chance that he could overshadow President Obama's speech on Thursday, or that he could go off script, which he is known to do?
Well, I've no doubt that he is going to go off script. He always does.
Yes.
But I think that in the end, I don't think they would mind if he overshadowed him, if he helped seal the deal.
All right, let's talk about this whole platform flap that Catherine alluded to in her package before we came on here. The one issue about having God in the platform, the second issue about calling Jerusalem the capital for Israel. Both issues were in the 2008 platform.
My platform.
In your platform. Not in this one. What an embarrassing moment for the party, and certainly for Antonio Villaraigosa at the podium there.
Well, my credo on party platforms is number 1, do no harm, 2, generate only good press, and 3, disappear quietly into the night. This did not happen. You know, this is something where I had hoped that they would simply call it a proofing error, you know, something slipped in the typesetting, and they would just correct it and move on. Instead, they made it worse by defending it early on, and then they had to backtrack, and they had to actually have the president so-called personally intervene to put the Jerusalem plank back in. These are the kind of no-brainer things that you should never see happen at a national convention.
Yeah, the platform is usually ignored the day afterward, but might this carry on into the election, or might this fade?
Well, unfortunately, by having a floor fight on this, by actually having, you actually heard people boo during the vote on putting the word God in and putting Jerusalem back in, you have what are called bad optics. It is the kind of thing that the Republicans are going to be running in their commercials for the next 60 or so odd days.
Okay, let's talk about Michelle Obama. Your overall impression. Most people have given her a great, described her speech as a great speech last night. What did you think?
I thought it has a potential to be a great speech. I mean, she delivered it well. It was a very good speech. The narrative was very subtle in terms of the way that she was talking about sacrifice and leadership, and I think she connected really well with the American people on the issue of how she and Barack, are a contrast to Mitt Romney in terms of how they came up. But the reason I think it has potential to be great is that she did lay down a narrative that the rest of the convention has to fulfill. They have to make the case about why it is that this difference between the two, between Barack's upbringing and Mitt Romney's upbringing, makes a difference, and why especially how his ideas are different than Mitt Romney's. That's the kind of narrative groundwork that she laid. It was beautifully done, wonderfully done, but in terms of its overall impact later on, whether it's great or not, I think we have to see.
Let's talk about, because certainly Ann Romney's speech for the GOP and much of the GOP convention really targeted specifically women. There's a new poll out that came out yesterday from the Washington Post, shows that back in April, President Obama was leading among women with 57%. Right. That just yesterday, this was before Michelle Obama's speech, his numbers with women have dropped to 46%.
Yeah, we always knew the numbers were going to tighten up. Anyone who watches elections, it is a big drop. Going from double digits to single digits in a week or in a couple months or so is not good. And I think that what you're going to see is, and this is where I'm a little concerned about the Democrats. They've decided that the issue for women is going to be the war on women. It's going to be on choice. It's going to be about equal pay. I think it's more about the economy, and then the other issues will then follow. I think that's where the Democrats have got to really focus on it. I think that just putting the whole issue of choice over and over again, the whole issue of equal pay, those are great issues, but in the end, I think that the women vote is going to go on the economy, and they've got to make those issues follow that.
All right, coming up at 6, Michael will be back with us then, and we're going to preview the president's speech for tomorrow night and talk about some other things. Also, if you would like to connect with Michael Yaki online, you can follow him on Twitter. His handle is @YakiBlog, and you can also read his political website, michaelyaki.com. Crown 4 political analyst Michael Yaki joins us once again. Let's just pick up that Bill Clinton, of course, is coming on shortly. What is it that he needs to say, can say, will do better than President Obama will say, do say?
Well, I think what the Democrats have given him the task of doing is answering the question, are you better off? And he's going to do it by basically stating that, rephrasing the question about what kind of a country do you want to live in. That's at least the excerpts coming out right now. He's going to talk about the fact that President Obama inherited a bad economy. He's going to talk about the fact he put a floor to keep us from crashing through. So I think it's good that they're using Clinton to do that, because this is a tough explanation to make, and he's the best communicator to do the job.
But everybody keeps saying the Obama administration cannot keep looking back, that it has to begin to look forward. How does Bill Clinton fit into that?
Well, I think what's interesting is that you have a campaign where the Republicans are running a Bill Clinton campaign against George Bush, and Barack Obama wants to run a Bill Clinton campaign against Bob Dole. In other words, when Clinton was running the second time around, he wasn't yet, the economy was just still beginning to get better. It wasn't all the way there. Dole was attacking him on that. He was saying things are going to get better. Trust me, it's going to work. And he ended up winning overwhelmingly. That's the kind of campaign they're going to run. The Republicans are trying to say, no, he's a weak president, no leadership. He's like the first George Bush, without mentioning George Bush. Instead, they substitute Jimmy Carter.
Okay, this is going to be a tough thing for him to do tonight, to deal with these policy issues, especially looking forward. I want to go back real quickly to the platform flap. Do you think Jewish voters are going to be really turned off by the fact that, the whole issue about Jerusalem being left out of the platform, and the whole issue about Christians being upset about God not being mentioned in the platform until it was added later? Is that going to hurt the Democrats?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of references to God in people's speeches tonight, and I think you're going to see a lot of work being done to repair the image, at least, of the president in Israel. But the fact of the matter is that the drama today on the platform was unnecessary, and for people who are maybe on the fence, it may reinforce bad stereotypes that they may have about either the Democratic Party or President Obama's views on either God or Israel, neither of which are really in question, but nevertheless, this I've said before, and I'll say it again. This election is not really about how good the truth is. It's how good you make your message. and the Republicans are going to use this to exploit it.
California delegation has a high profile at this convention. Kamala Harris, the Attorney General, speaking. Nancy Pelosi, the House Minority Leader, spoke earlier today. Does this give us any boost? Because most of the candidates don't pay much attention to California because it's such a guaranteed blue state.
Well, I mean, I think the speakers from California, Kamala Harris and others, it's about how they are going to position themselves for the future. This is their turn in the spotlight. So I think, we'll just see how it goes. And there's Nancy, who I'm so biased on that. It's hard for me to say other than I think she's great and wonderful. And, she's a House Minority Leader, and she's going to continue doing that.
But do you think the congressional Democrats are going to do well this year?
In all honesty, I think that the expectations are low. They may pick up a few seats, but the conventional wisdom is unless there's some big wave at the end, they're going to fall a little bit short.
All right. Well, if you would like to connect with Michael Yaki, all you have to do is go on to his Twitter page. His handle is @YakiBlog, and you can also read his political website, which is michaelyaki.com. And we have